Hey everybody, and happy Black History Month. Okay, so I'm gonna try to control my anger on this one, but I ain't gonna lie, I might cuss. Because we're not gonna do a person today. We're gonna do something that happened. And the part that gets me is I hate when people say, I don't vote, my vote don't count, blah, 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 blah. Especially African Americans. You wanna know why? Because black people marched for your dumb ass to be able to vote, stupid. So why would you sit there and let history go to waste? Why would you sit there and let all the hard work, beatings, killings, everything go to waste because your dumb ass, young ass, don't know your history and think your vote don't count? Even if you feel like your vote don't count, you need to have your ass in that goddamn line just because of the simple fact that black legends and your ancestors walked from Selma to Montgomery to fight for the rights to for African Americans to vote. What is wrong with y'all? So since we don't want to talk about history, we're gonna talk about history today. Miranda, get into it. So today we're gonna talk about the Selma to Montgomery marches for voting rights. On February 18th, 1965, blacks were protesting for voting rights in Marion, Alabama, a little more than 25 miles from Selma. State troopers were beating 82-year-old Cager Lee when his daughter Viola got involved and she too was beaten. Her son, Jimmy Lee Jackson, intervened in an attempt to protect his mother. He was shot by a state trooper and died 8 years later. I'm sorry, 8 days later. My apologies. Frustrated by the situation, like I am right now, a march from Selma to the state capitol in Montgomery to voice their complaints to Governor George Wallace was planned. On March 7th, approximately 600 civil rights marchers began the 54-mile journey. When the marchers reached the bottom of Selma's Edmund Pettus Bridge, named for the former Confederate general and Klansman, they were stopped by state troopers. The troopers began beating the marchers with billy clubs and spraying them with tear gas. Many marchers, including future Congressman John Lewis, shout out to John Lewis, happy Black History Month to you too, sir, will be severely beaten. This event will become known as Bloody Sunday. This was the first of 3 attempts for the civil rights activists to march from Selma to Montgomery. On March 9th, the second attempt was made. Once again, the state troopers were there to prevent the march. The marchers retreated. Protester James Reeb, a white minister from Boston, would be severely beaten later that day and died March 11th from his wounds. On March 20th, President Lyndon Johnson mobilized the Alabama National Guard under federal authority to protect the marchers. The third march began March 21st and ended March 25th when approximately 25,000 activists reached Montgomery. That evening, Viola Lauzo, a white mother of 5 from Detroit who had transported marchers, was murdered by the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK. Hosea Williams and John Lewis led the first Selma March. Martin Luther King Jr. led the second and third marches. Oh, y'all thought we was done? And not. We not, because I'm not done yet. We have other voting rights victims that died from the violence of trying again to get the rights for African Americans to vote. Okay? Did you hear what I said? So get your ass up and vote. But anyway, sorry about that. We have Lamar Smith, 1955, Reverend George Lee, 1955, Herbert Lee, 1961, and Werner Dahmer, 1966, were murdered by racists for registering to vote or registering others to vote. 3 civil rights volunteers who were investigating the burning of a black church and working on the Freedom Summer Project to help black voter registration were also murdered. In 1964, James Chaney, who was black, and a pair of whites, Andrew Goodman and Michael Schwerner, were shot, and their bodies were recovered in an earthen dam near Philadelphia, Mississippi in 1964. And you feel like you shouldn't vote? Are you serious right now? Get it the fuck together, my African American community, and do better. I just want to give a thank you and love to all of our ancestors.